Okay, welcome everybody. It's exciting to get started again. I remember I threw a first pitch in to the Dallas baseball team, and it was so exciting on opening day. And everybody talked about the opening day of pro baseball, and they were playing the Red Sox. And I never thought about opening day being that exciting and that important. And this is what we do. All the kids were talking about, we got 10 that have never practiced before in a college setting, so it's so exciting for them. We've got some that are in spring practice that this is their first fall practice. So it was enthusiastic. We've got a better looking team. We've got the best staff we've had. Now we've got to make sure that the staff does the things that fit this team the best, not what they know the best. And that's important for us in all different areas. We started the meeting off last night with a speaker named C.L. Shepard, and he killed it. He spoke for about an hour, and he talked about life, and he talked about going from good to great, and he talked about handling the grind of practice, and talked about his life and the things he had overcome, and it was one of the best messages I've ever heard. And they stayed locked in, and they asked him questions, and it was a great night to start. Most teams that have a great year are teams that have the fewest injuries. You got to have depth to have fewer injuries in most cases. We've talked about depth every year. We still haven't gotten the depth that we need. So we're going to work more with the white team, which is our second team, against the blue team, and alternate those groups a lot more so we can get the white team to play against the best players and press themselves and see if they can step up and join the blue team, because that's what we need. By NCAA rule, you have 3 days in shorts, which we had today. Then you have two days in what we call shells or uppers, which is just shoulder pads and shorts, and then you can start in full pads. One of the hardest things that a coaching staff and specifically a head coach have to do, you want your team tough, so how much do you hit and not get people hurt? It's always that question that it's the unknown. And then you want them in great shape, so you work them in the heat, but you don't want them worn out by game time. So there's that perfect amount of time where you're conditioned but fresh by the time you get to the game. So the next 25 practices are really, really important, and you have to manage all that as you go through. How much do you hit live? How much you need to tackle better? You need to break more tackles in space. If you do that, you have to scrimmage. If you scrimmage or tackle live out here in scrimmages, you're more likely to get somebody hurt, but do you have to risk that? So those are all the things that you have to answer in the next month. Tomorrow night, we've also got an Eric Church concert that the collective started to help us with NIL money. It's sold out. It's great. I appreciate Eric so much. He's a dear friend of ours. He's a dear friend of mine. It's going to be great to see him, but also I really appreciate him. He's all over the place, all over the United States in concerts every night, and he'll take his time to come here and say hello to the team and spend some time with us and give another great concert tomorrow night. Questions?
When you talk about depth, are you much closer to being where you think you need to be as a program across the board? And are you getting there at linebacker? Are you getting there at offensive line? Maybe some of those spots that are a little bit thinner.
I was going to say that we are in most places. We're not at linebacker. That's one of the key things for preseason, because Sebastian Cheeks didn't get to go through spring. So how will Sebastian step up, and can he stay healthy? Amari Campbell we're really impressed with. So can he handle the heat as we get closer to game time? You've got Deuce Caldwell, who's been here now for a year. Will he take one of those two spots? Because not only do we need people to step up in those two spots, they got to be able to play. And I told Tommy Thigpen that if they can't step in and play like a starter, then they're not a backup, because we've got to have, if Sed or Power has to come out, somebody got to go in and play at a high level, and that could be the first play of the game, third play of the game. So we've got to get better in those areas. And then you've got Michael Short, who was hurt a lot this spring with a pulled hamstring, and you've got Caleb LaValle, who we'll see. Today's first day we've seen him, and it was fun today to see those 10 extra guys. We haven't seen them. We haven't seen Stick Lane. So we'll get a lot of video this afternoon on them. Offensive line, we just got to keep getting better. We've talked about it every year, but then we play 6. Or we may play 7. I'd like to play 8 at least. And what does that mean? Do you play them every third series? Do you put one in every now and then? Because I've challenged our coaches with deciding how many plays each of the guys on the white team have earned to play. What do you trust them? Can a guy go in for 10 plays? Can he go in for 15? Coach Smith and Coach Guthridge always told me playing time was one of the keys to coaching. And when does that backup guy play better than the starter that's tired? And how long will you leave him in and then pull him back out and then put him back in when they get tired again? And a lot of times you won't substitute inside of either 20 because that's where games are won. You'll substitute more in the middle of the field. So all of those things are what we're really looking at right now.
So Mack, that challenge has been issued coming into this camp in terms of finding the bodies at certain positions, finding the backups,
Yes.
Nailing that down.
And it's been issued every year. We haven't done a good job of it. And part of it was transfer portal, and part of it's been injuries, but we need to quit griping about those things and get it fixed. And the challenge has been given to the coaches, and the challenge has been given to the players. I told them again after practice, if you want to play, earn it. We don't have likes and dislikes. We have wins. That's what we like. So don't think we have an agenda. The guy that's not playing says he doesn't like me. No, we like all of you, man. You're all great. Off the field. On the field, we got to play the guys that practice the best.
Diego Pound's out there, some reps with the first unit, some with the second unit. What are your thoughts on kind of his progression and kind of where his game's at right now?
Diego's one of those guys we're talking about. He's huge. He's got great feet. He's smart. He's been here long enough. He needs to play. So we've told him, it's on you. We're going to have you going against Des Evans and Cameron Rucker, and we're going to put you out there with the best, and if you can't block them, then you can't block South Carolina. So don't gripe. Block them. So that's the challenge. And Trey Green, Trey missed spring. That really hurt us, but we're looking at him at tackle, so he needs to step up and do a great job for us.
For sure. And then a younger player you had out there, Christian Hamilton, got a few plays even with Drake at QB. What do you kind of envision with him? Some of the things that he could probably do as a freshman this year.
Yeah, we're excited about Christian, and he was here this spring. So he went through spring, so they're nearly like sophomores when they've already had 15 spring practice sessions, and they've had an off season, and they've had a year of school and summer work. So Chris Culliver just got here. It's his first day, but we hope Christian will step up and play. We need 6 receivers. That goes back to that depth thing. And we can't just play 2. We had to play Josh all the time last year, and then when Antoine Green and Josh got hurt, we were putting guys out there that hadn't been out there much. We'd like to play 6 and rotate them.
Mack, did you mention South Carolina a lot at all today, or is today a day to just focus on
I told the team last night I was going to mention the first 4 games one time between now and the week of the South Carolina game because we need to get better. And all 4 of those teams are good. So if we sit here and talk about South Carolina now, it'll lose its strength or place by the time we play. So no, I told them we got a 4-game season, then we have an open date, we'll start over. But you get better at what you do every day. And not only do you have to get an edge every morning, and you have to be in your meeting with an edge and pay attention and focus. You have to go practice great every day to be great, and that's hard to do. And then the third thing is you got to take care of your body. So it's huge to say they have to hydrate. They have to get in the cold tubs. They have to get some sleep. They have to take care of their body so they can practice tomorrow. And it was interesting, another thing that C.L. Shepard said last night was little things are important, and a lot of times we don't do the little things that are easy. We say it's easy to hydrate, but we don't hydrate. I forgot. We say I wanted to study an extra hour on my playbook, but I forgot. I was tired. We say I need to get some sleep, but we stay up playing video games. So do the little things that you're supposed to do, and that'll make a difference.
Mack, how do you think Drake handled the summer all the way to today with everything that's going to be on his shoulders this year?
I think Drake's Drake. When Drake misses a pass, we all were in shock. He threw one over Kobe Pasor's head today, and Kobe came back, and I said, great route. We got to get him to hit you, and he said he will. So, I mean, they have great confidence in Drake. So it'll be fun to watch him today. I thought he made some great plays, but again, it's kind of like winning and losing. We only remember what he misses because we expect him to hit every play. But I don't think Drake's changed in any way other than he's more confident and he's more assertive as a leader, which is all good.
In the spring, we noted a lot of the positives about Travis Shaw, that he was really starting to get it across the board, be a college player and also his weight. You seen a continuation of that? Is he today the guy that you thought he would be and hoped he would be on first practice?
Yeah, when you all watch practice, I watch practice. There's 120 of them out here, so you get to see pieces. And what I've learned, and it's like a game, you can't say this guy practiced good and this guy didn't until you see the whole practice video. So I'll watch all that this afternoon. But Travis is down to 340, which is huge for him. He was at 375. So he's made the weight loss that he needed to. He is older. How many plays can he play in the heat? We'll see. That's been one of the questions. He's been playing 3 and 4 plays at a time. Can he play 10? And now it's harder to get them out with the way college football is, because everybody's running the clock so much and they're never huddling. So you can keep a bunch out there 12 plays and wear them out. So you've got to really work hard at figuring out how you substitute your defensive line.
Mack, in addition to that, though, it's all the other stuff, too, that Travis was just kind of becoming a college football player all around. So is he checking all those other boxes?
Yes, he's maturing, he's growing up. He's trying to be a leader, so he is doing all the things. We forget in basketball, a 5-star comes in and he's ready to play. They can go to the NBA. In football, it usually takes a couple years, and maybe 3 for a 17-year-old to play against a 22-year-old. And it's just very different, and that's hard for people to understand.
What have you got on Will Hardy? And what do you have on Will Hardy? And how long do you think he's going to be out?
I don't know. He's Jeremy. It's supposed to be a lower leg injury.
Yep.
That's going to be fine. He should be ready for game time. It's one of those that he'll work as hard as he can and he'll get well as fast as he can. And it really helps us right now that we can look at Stick Lane and some of those other guys at safety because we know what Will can do. So we're not worried about him not being able to play, and we're not worried about him not being ready for the first game.
Was that just from training in the summer, something he did out here?
Last week. So way late.
Right.
So.
A couple times this offseason, you've really emphasized the importance of now, whether it be the challenge issue, or I think you said before something along the lines of there's always a lot of talk, but there's not a lot of action that follows it. Where does that sense of urgency, is that more so being in year 5? Is it specifically the team that you have now?
I don't think I've ever talked about too much talk and not enough action. I have said that we need to step up and play the best we can play. 9 was a good year for us. It's one of the best years in North Carolina history. Winning the Coastal was the second time in school history. I think 9 wins was the second time since I left. That's been 20, 30 years ago. So really, really proud of the guys for what they did last year. We just want to be better. So we want to win every game. And I've told every team I've ever coached, don't talk about it, do it. I want to see it. And you are what you put on the field. That's what you are. All this talk. Gene Chizik said last night to the defense that every coach in America in 130-plus teams is standing there telling them you can win a championship. Really and truly, most of those can't. So they're not telling them the truth. We can't. We got good enough players. We got good enough coaches. So we got good enough staff. The challenge for us is to all do what we're supposed to do and step up and make our plays.
Mike, can you talk about Tez Walker and McCollum, how they have assimilated themselves into a program, but also forced guys like J.J. Jones, Kobe Pace will be better?
Yes, I feel like Tez and Nate are really good. They're experienced. Tez has shown the ability to play great against Washington and Oklahoma and Georgia. I mean, so he's not going to walk out there big-eyed in the first game. He's going to play. And today, he's fast. He's tall. He's fast. He gets open, and he competes. And I love the kid. He's had great grades. He has done everything perfectly beyond what we could have asked. Nate's the same way. Pat Suttis was at Georgia Tech with Nate, so he knew all that. and he competes, and he's tough, and he's smart. And both of them are good leaders. They just don't say a lot. They do it on the field. So I do feel like that we couldn't have gotten two guys that were better to come in and help us with the replacement of a Josh Downs and Antoine Green than those two. And then Gavin Blackwell and Kobe Paysauer and J.J. Jones have all shown the ability to win. So they can step up and make those plays anyway. So that's where we're going to start getting our six. And then can Andre Green come on? Can Christian Hamilton come on? What about Paul Billups? What about Chris Culliver? All those, Doc Chapman. Can they step up now and make a different level? And that's what we're trying to get them to do. We've got plenty at running back. We have to figure out how to play them. We need 6 quality guys at receiver. We've got that, but they need to play good. And they got to play every snap. And I do think that Tez and Nate will help those guys get better because they're going to have to play.
Similar question. A lot of the players have spoken specifically about Elijah Cousins being just a guy in practice and a guy they're really looking for a lot out of. What are you looking for out of him this year in a backfield that is kind of rebuilt?
Elijah's a leader. He's an All-American at a lower level. He's had a bunch of interceptions, which we haven't had. He plays the ball extremely well. I saw him today. He reached out and grabbed the ball with one hand. So he's got tremendous hand-eye coordination. And to win more games, we've got to have more turnovers. So we feel like that he has a chance to be really good for us.
Mack, what do you mean?
And he's older and he competes. He competes every down.
You said it's a better-looking team. Like, what do you mean by that? Can you sort of expound on that?
Yes, I'm sorry, that's so general. It's
you don't have to.
well, I was looking at the headshots. No, that's not it. It's an older team. We do have more depth in most positions, like tight end, but we can have more depth in the other positions. It's there. It's just young, so we've got to develop that. Coach Moody and I were talking before practice. We're more lean. We don't have heavy guys. We move around better. So all the pieces are here for us to be good. It's on us as coaches to put them in the right place and get them to play up to the level that they can, and we've got a chance.
Mack, you talk a lot about these goals that you have for this team and individual players that are starting to step up. How do you manage the first impressions of this practice and what's going to come with these next few days to those goals and kind of get that timeline that you're kind of trying to work through?
Yeah, we'll spend 2 hours this afternoon in meetings with them watching every play. And we'll tell them that this is, we're trying to get from good to great. This is good. We got to be better in this area. We'll tell a guy, you hustled 75% of your plays, 25%. You didn't give us everything you got. You thought you did, but you didn't. And here it is. You got to see it. So it's much easier to show it to them than it is talk to them about it. And if you don't have a good practice in the first one, you got a bad year coming up because they're fresh and they're excited. But we did have a good practice. So that's what you expect in the first one. What's it going to look like in the 12th practice? When they're tired, what's it going to look like in the 20th practice? And that's where you have to see how your team's going to do.
You mentioned running back a minute ago. Is that a situation where it may take some time to sort itself out? Could it possibly extend into the season?
It could. Last year, everybody kept getting hurt, so we couldn't figure out who to put out there. And that's the other thing is we're going to do a lot of drills where we have to tackle better. We have to have better pursuit angles. So you can do a lot of drills with Thud where they can tackle and not throw them to the ground, and you're less likely to get people hurt. And those same drills are drills for the running backs have to show that they've got the ability to make people miss in space. So we'll do a whole lot of that one-on-one. And then we've got to figure out how many times we can hit each back because they're the ones that get hurt the most because they've got everybody chasing them and hitting them every play. And we're going to have to hit them some to see who can stay healthy and see how much better our running game can be.
Matt, what makes a good first practice?
Focus, organization, energy. You can see you've got enough ability when it happens. If they were not trying and if we were having to motivate them today, it's a bad practice. If we're having to tell them pick it up, it's a bad practice. And they were picking each other up. I saw older ones coaching younger ones. But if you think this team's been to 4 bowls, some of them been here 5, 6 years. They've been to an Orange Bowl. They've won a Coastal. They've played the Oregons and the A&Ms in bowl games. So they've been around. Our first team had lost 5 games the last 2 years. So they didn't have any of those experiences. This team's experienced. So now it's just time to step up and be as good as you can be.
Mack, of course, we have Freddie Kitchens out there, very hands-on with that tight end group. You still have those, I guess, kind of core 3 tight ends from last year. But what kind of difference do you think Freddie Kitchens might bring, I guess, as far as the dynamics of how the tight ends are used and just with their productivity?
Freddie is our running game coordinator, and we need to run the ball better. And between Freddie and Chip, who are best friends that grew up together, and Randy Clements, who has been a partner to Chip through all of the coaching stuff they've had, those 3 are really in charge of the running game. And Larry Porter, who was with Chip at Auburn. So we've got a lot of continuity in that group. And Freddie's tough. He is tough. So he gets after them. So he has told them all, you're not going to play unless you can block. And I do believe that he will be a major factor in helping us be tougher in the running game.
Aside from performance, what does an older Tamari Fox bring that group up front, especially having been through what he's been through, and the kind of vocal guy that he is to that group?
Yeah, we've got to create more havoc up front. We've got to have more penetration. We've got to have more tackles for loss. The sacks come from usually long yardage situations. So until you stop the run on first down, if they're 2nd and 6, they're going to be 3rd and 4 and 4th and 2. And you're not going to be sacking people with play action. So we've got to stop the run better on early downs, and then we can get penetration and get after quarterbacks. He's an all-state wrestler in Georgia. He plays with a lot of leverage. He's so quick, and he's powerful. So we feel like he will be a huge factor up front because he's so hard to block.
Is there something vocal about him that he maybe brings to that room that he couldn't deliver when he wasn't able to play that maybe he can now?
Yeah, you can't lead when you're on the scout team and not playing. So he's back, and they all know it. He gives you fresh legs. He gives you quickness. He gives you strength. He gives you power and explosion, everything we're looking for up front. But he also gives you another body that's a quality blue team player where it'll give somebody else some rest, but also challenge them to do better to play.
What did you find particularly moving about the CL Shepherd talk last night? Like what points really resonated with you?
I wrote down so many different things that I'm going to share again with the staff and the team. He talked about you're never defeated till you start blaming somebody else. And he said the guys who don't play start blaming other people because they can't take responsibility themselves. He talked about don't stand there with a shovel hoping to see a ditch. You got to work. Go to work. He said keep your mouth shut and work. He talked about working hard at night. Stay off social media. You don't have to get likes with everything you do. Go work and be good at what you're doing. He talked about doing the little things right that aren't so easy to do. I mean, that made sense. That resonated with them. He said that he never had a Christmas present until I think he was 9. Jeremy?
9 or 14.
9, 14. Yeah. Well, I think it was 9. And then he tried to figure out, do I want a trampoline? Because a church group came and said, we're going to give you all Christmas presents for the first time. And then he said, nah, I may want a computer. And he said, you know what? I don't sleep well. I've never had a pillow. So he got a pillow for his first Christmas that he ever got a present, and he still got that pillow today. And it was a message to the guys that don't start feeling for yourself. And he said, think about sleeping every night on your arm, because that's what I had to sleep on. And he said, I took that pillow to college with me. And when I went to college, I had 2 bags, 2 plastic bags, and they had everything I owned in them, including that pillow. So he said, I don't hear you. He said, I had a gun in my mouth at 14 because I thought I was going to take my life. And then he said, for some reason, I flipped it. And I wanted it to be good, so I started over with my life. So it was, there were a whole lot of things on there that were very, very powerful as you start just thinking about the message that he gave them. And then I added to it. We got Tylee Craft, that's a message every day. We got Mitch Mason that's sick. He's very sick. He's a message every day. So we got messages thrown at us. Quit pouting, grow up, and feel good about where you are in your life and move forward. Anything else?
Good. You obviously had British out there in the Springs out there today. Going into that 6th year, just kind of what are some of your kind of expectations and where is he at right now?
British is released. He's 100%. He's full speed for the first time since this time last year where he got hurt. He is a tremendous leader, and he's a quiet leader. He'll walk up and tell them. It was the other thing that CL said. He said, don't call them out, call them up. You need to pick them up. So you older guys, don't beat a guy down that's a young one. Call him up. You need to do better, and that's British. British will say, here, come here, I want to show you. Or he'll say, keep your mouth shut. If Coach asks you a question, answer it this way. Don't do what you did. And he's a great special teams player, and he'll be a mix with this downhill power running game. He really fits that mold.
Mack, if you think about preseason camp a year ago, you didn't know who your quarterback was going to be. Gene wasn't too far removed from the TV booth. In those two areas, at quarterback and maybe defensive coordinator, is that maybe part of the sense of feeling like you might be off to a faster start, or you might be a little bit ahead of where you have been at this stage of the game? Are those two important factors there?
Yes, the fact that Jason Jones was hired and he's come in and he's worked with Charlton before makes that seamless. Those two they've been on the same page, and then Gene and Charlton are on the same page, and now you've got Tim and Ted Monachino and Gene, who are they're all one. The kids have talked a lot about we're running the same defense now for the 2nd year in a row because Gene was behind. Didn't even realize it when he got here because he'd been out 5 years, so he's caught up. He's ready to go. He has a huge chip on his shoulder. He's tired of hearing how bad we are, and I like that. I throw it out there every now and then just to make him more mad. But they're all working together, and most of these kids have worked together except the secondary, and the safeties have worked together more than the corners. But we feel like the corners are very talented, so we're not worried about that. And then offensively, you lost some coaches, but you're keeping the same offense. You're keeping the same passing game, which makes it really easy for Drake. You've got a guy who's run the same offense, calling the plays forever. And you've got the 4 guys, really, with Freddie being friends with Chip, and then Randy and Chip being long-term friends, and Larry Porter working with Chip down at Auburn. Those guys have really done a good job. Then you've got Clyde coming in, and he's got a lot of the pro ideas that Freddie has. And Lonnie Galloway is one of the best coaches in the country. You look at what he's done with our passing game and our receivers. I think 5 receivers in the NFL after 4 years. It's amazing what he's done, and that's why we recruit so well at that position, because they all want to be the next guy in the NFL.
You really prod Gene like that a little bit? Drop a little?
I do. Just about every day. maybe 4 times a day, but
4 times a day.
No, but what I will do, and I'll do it this afternoon, is I'll say, and it's hard in shorts. You want them to compete, but you don't want them to get hurt. So shorts is you don't swim without a pool, and you don't play football without pads. So this is hard for 3 days. We'll figure out what to do, but they can't do it because you sitting there saying, I want to rush the passer better. Well, don't get around Drake. I mean, so that's hard, all of that stuff. But what we'll do is we'll look every day if there's a bad pursuit angle, if there's a looks like what would be a missed tackle in space, we'll bring it up in the staff meeting, we show it, and we watch it and say, this is unacceptable, we can't do this. This is why we're in the position that we were in last year and didn't play as well as we needed to, because we have ad nauseum broken down missed tackles, missed opportunities on deep balls, lack of sacks, lack of tackles for loss. You all say it all the time. We've said it a lot more than you have. So they've heard it, and we told them we're tired of it, and it needs to be fixed.
All right, gang.